Hey, what's going on? We are recreating tracks from scratch. This one is Pony by Ginuwine, produced by Timbaland. Here's the original. Awesome. Here is my recreation. And let's get that bass going. That's just the drums. Here's my recreation with the bass part. Back to the original. And mine. Great. And by the way, this is a Shetland pony stallion with a chocolate-colored coat and flaxen mane and tail. Just beautiful. Wow. Okay. All right, so that's mine. I think, was that one mine? I think we're on mine. Yep, we're on mine. And we're going to go through the parts. The big thing with Timbaland stuff is drums. His drum parts are amazing. The interplay between all the percussion elements, everything's kind of calling and answering each other. And the loop I chose is just this because I wanted to focus in on the drums and the bass and get that as close as possible. Check out just the interplay in the drums is so good. Here's the actual part. And we can see that stuff is not gridlocked. I play things in usually, but then I look at the original waveform and I line up all the transients as close as possible. I really want to see exactly how things are on. Like you can see this stuff is all very on top. So it's not gridlocked. Things are nudged around quite a bit to give it a bit of that human feel. Hats seem to be pretty down the middle, and then kicks and snares on this beat are a little on top. You could achieve that by putting the kicks and snares on and then putting the hi-hats back a little bit as well. It just depends on how you want to do it. But it's really cool to see exactly where his stuff lines up. Another interesting point is the snare is made up of two snares staggered, and they're panned left and right. So this is the left, and that's the right. Left, right. And when they're together, they sound like this. So they create a nice stereo spread. And I had to do some work to actually dull them out a bit. But in terms of samples, where I got the samples from, I ended up I use XO a lot by Excellent Audio. And what I do is I've got so many sample library packs and original Akai sample libraries and just tons of source stuff that Timbaland would have been using. I did a bunch of research to see what sample libraries he was using. There's an EMU where people were saying the effects came from, and so I grabbed a few of those sample libraries, and I did find the original sample for the that arcadey blip sound, that sound. Where is it? There it is. Get out. So that was really awesome to find that. But that was it. That's the only one I found for the effects. The car screech I had to create myself. So I went on YouTube and I just started watching a lot of random videos of car screeches. Some of them were YouTube sound effects, but it's not the same one, obviously. And I was just kind of listening for the matched pitch of the car. So when the car squeal would hit the right pitch, I would capture that video and then try to mess with it. I found this. This has already been edited a bit, but this is what the original kind of sounded like. And then I ran it through RX, and it's just to clean it up. That one had a lot of noise in it, so I cleaned it up a bit. That's cleaned up slightly, and then there's this version. That's cleaned up even more. So it's a little more directed, and there's this one, and I ended up with this at the end. So I basically, through these processes, I was isolating the noise out of it using RX in stages, and then tuning the pitches and cropping the spots of the original audio where the car hit the correct pitches from the original. I think I got it pretty close. Let's do an A-B with the original. Here's the original. Just listen for the car screech there. And then here's mine. Listen to my car screech. Whoops, that's the original. This one's mine. It's pretty good. I'd say I was happy with that result. I was quite happy. Seeing this was the original audio that I grabbed off YouTube. So, which is very noisy. That probably would take up way too much space in the track. All right. So that's kind of how I found the sound effects. And then for the XO stuff, what I end up doing just to find stuff quickly is I'll like I'll only view a few packs. Here, I'll show it here. Hold on. View. So you can select which folders in all my sample one-shot libraries. And I have like some Timbaland kits and some packs that came from that era. So I just select those. Like, so select not, these are all of my samples selected. So that's just those packs that I think might have it. Maybe that one. And then I'll just like, I'll find something that sounds similar. That's the kick that I ended up using. That probably isn't the original kick, but I thought it was pretty close. And then if it's close enough, this app lets you cycle through similar kicks in all of your sample folders. So you can just like, until you find the right one or something and I'm going back and forth from the reference track until I find the right kick. That was it. I don't want to mess around too much with that in case I mess up the preset. But that's how I create the drum kits, and I do that with each sound, matching as close as possible, and doing some layering to, because I know Timbaland was kind of famous for that, taking multiple snares and layering them, or multiple kicks and layering them together to create a new kick, which makes it very hard to figure out where the samples came from because you can't isolate. You have to try tons of combinations. Okay, that's probably it for drums. What was this here? Let's see. Oh yeah, just that's not XO. That's actually Vital. I created this hi-hat sound from scratch using white noise in Vital. There's like this open hi-hat sound, and I couldn't find the sample anywhere, so I just created it from scratch. What's this? Oh yeah, I needed a crash. So sometimes I'll, just create a new plugin and, just try to find that one sound and work away at it. If it's close, maybe I'll bounce it out to audio, which that's what it looks like I did here. And then, I can manipulate it further once it's in audio. But the idea is just kind of get it done however you have to get it done. The bass. This was the big one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did this in Vital. There's a really great tutorial online, and the guy's name is Adam. Hold on. I'll find it here for you real quick. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Eric Bowman. Eric Bowman. And his page is amazing. A lot of times will just follow through his little instructional videos, and he goes through everything. This was sort of like he has a preset, and I followed through all the steps the same way he did. And then I made some adjustments to it to fine tune it, make it even closer, particularly in all the LFO automations for the formant filter. So I've got quite a few LFOs sending stuff. Let's turn the cycle on. So that's one LFO kind of moving a filter in a certain way. That's another LFO. And you can see, like, if I hold the note down long enough, the ow kind of stages of the LFO start right there at the end. So that's adjusting the formant filter, which creates like the vowel sounds. So if I hold the note down with my I move this. There's a lot of variation you can get in there. And if you fine tune it, you can get it pretty close. I hope I didn't just mess that up. Probably did. It's fine. Okay. Okay, that was the bass in Vital. What else is there in here? Processing. Processing is pretty huge for this stuff, especially on the drums, to make sure stuff kind of hits the way you want it to. So I'm doing a lot of processing on each individual instrument. On the snares, I am running knock with a bit of punch. Looks like I'm saturating a little bit using the knock saturation. Then I'm using split EQ to bring some of the transient out on a specific frequency. This plugin is amazing for sculpting sounds. You can just EQ the transient information separately from the tonal information. So it's kind of like a ultimate transient shaper. Downside is it's very CPU heavy, so you have to kind of be careful. You can only use it at the mix stage, really. It's a mixing tool. Okay, looks like both snares have that kind of stuff. Knock and split EQ to brighten them up a bit and bring out the punch that I'm looking for in this specific frequency range. This snare looks like 3 snares mixed together. Yes, it's the 2 snares that I mentioned earlier, and then it's also like a bit of an 808, like buzzy snare sound mixed underneath it. So those 3 combined make our snare. There we go. Cool. What else is going on? The kick. How do we do the kick? It's probably interesting to people. Oh yeah, this was kind of cool. The kick was okay. It was pretty close, but the original has like this click on the front end of the kick. Check it out. It's almost like a clipping kick sound. Hear how it like there's this really quick click in the high-end information. And rather than clipping it, I tried using this phosphat thing, which just detects transients and puts white noise. So you can add attack and noise to percussion elements. So I'm only adding this little band here. And sorry, that's the original. Gotta bring it back. Where is that kick? Where are you at, kick? There you are. Okay, so with it, without it, with it, So it really adds like a nice little click to the top. It's just like a beater sound, and it makes that kick way more noticeable on small speakers. Next is the 176 compressor, which I really like. A lot of times, if I need something a bit more saturated, I want it to jump out of the speakers a bit more with some harmonic content. This is a great compressor. I kind of use this compressor more for, it's a saturator more than a compressor. It is doing compression as well, obviously. Looks like about 4 dB of compression. So not much, but it will add a nice amount of saturation, a medium amount of saturation. Looks like I just liked the EQ curve on this for the kick. This mojo knob kind of brings out a bit of the, it just puts a nice little curve on the kick, and I liked whatever it did. I'm also soft clipping here to kind of mimic what they were doing. Here's with it. Here's without it. Without it, with it. Very subtle, but it added a little bit of an extra click that I liked with that clipping. And then here's my EQ. As you can see, a lot of times the kicks that come stock there's way too much low end a lot of times. So without, like, there isn't that much low end in the original track. And you'd have to listen on headphones to really hear this. That to me was matching very close to the amount of low end content that the original has. All right, what's next? Hats. Looks like I was crushing the hats a bit with the drummer, probably the clarity. Yeah. Adding some air just to crunch the top end. I find this plugin, it makes the top end a bit crispier and not quite as nasally and resonant. It's a bit more easy to listen to. It's with, here's without. You can listen on the short hat. So to my ear, it kind of just smooths out the top end a little bit, makes it a bit easier to hear. On the bass, processing wise, we have some like analog style EQ from the Hitsville UAD stuff, just to get it in the right place. Now, this is very specific for the sound, but Logic, instead of using two bass channels, like bussing out to a separate channel for parallel compression and parallel effects, a lot of times I'll use Patchwork by Blue Cat Audio, which allows you to load up plugins. It's basically just a shell within a shell. You can load in plugins, and then you can create parallel channels like this. So I've got one, just the low end, because I didn't want to process the low end with the other effects. So I've got the low end there, and that's just going straight through. And then I've got the higher information here, which I wanted to process. So I needed a bit more saturation on the top of the wow wow sound. This is the bass sound, that yow 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 sound. Check it out. Why isn't it playing? Come on. Let's solo it. And then I also process it with a flanger. And this was pretty key to try to getting it a bit closer. Let's listen with this processing off. Let's listen with it all on. So this flanger and the saturation together sort of like give you a bit of that spread that the original sound had. This is just how I ended up stumbling on it. I tried a lot of different flangers, and this one just matched the original pretty closely with these exact settings. So yeah, being able to just affect the top end and then leave the bottom natural, because when I was processing the whole thing, it was just kind of distorting too much, and the bottom end would distort with the rest of the sound, which I didn't want. Okay, what we got here? Okay, here's our drum bus. All the drums are sending to this bus. I've got another instance of knock, and I'm adding, a reasonable amount of sub back in to the kick, around 50 cycles. Without, with, yeah, this is just noticeable. It's there. It's not doing much. It's just barely moving. I don't even have it on high quality mode because I think these original drums kind of sound these Timbaland style things that were done on MPCs kind of sound better with lower quality plugins, which is why I'm using Decimort on the drums to kind of lower the resolution slightly to give it more of an MPC sound. Makes it sit back in the mix. And I have two instances. Oh no, that's a drummer on the end. Sorry. Okay, so let's listen with Decimort and without Decimort. Without. With. This is without. Here's with. Yeah. So you can hear a bit of that resolution degradation, especially in the top end. Listen again. Yeah, totally. So it kind of distorts it in a nice way, or saturates it, and then flattens it, sort of. It's subtle, but I think it really adds a lot. Kind of puts the drums in a space in the mix, like it sits it back a bit more and a bit flatter. It's almost too punchy without it. Okay. Now this is the Drummer S7 III, which I use. It seems like I use this all the time these days, but I really like the punch for bringing out those mid-range punch around 400, like almost like boxy, warm, but not like subby punch. It will control the mid-range punch, which is great for small speakers. So check it out with it in. It's barely moving the needle. Let's try it without. In. Yeah, totally. Okay, let's crank it to hear what it's actually doing. And I've got it not fully wet either. So the dry is still coming through. Just a bit of punch control. All right, master bus. I love this tape. It kind of adds a lot of warmth to the sound. Here's the original. Yeah. Totally. Just kind of glues the mix a bit and gets rid of the really like digital sound that a DAW can have. A lot of these samples, like they're sampled so well from the original source that they're almost too high quality. So plugins like this can kind of help just like mush your mix together a bit. Doesn't make it sound a little less like a DAW. Then it looks like I'm running Decimort on the entire mix set, like so it's not doing too much. Like it's mostly dry, barely any, and it's at like full resolution. So it's processing. It's basically making this mix a 44.1 mix. So yeah, pretty subtle. But similar effect to the tape. I'm just trying to kind of squash it a bit and lower the resolution a bit. Okay, now we're into mastering. Here's my favorite compressor as of late. Sometimes I use this more as a mix bus compressor, but it looks like I'm sort of putting it more in the mastering stages towards the end of my stereo bus chain. Yeah, it looks like I'm actually clipping a little bit there, but sounds good to me. So yeah, as usual, barely moving the needle, if at all. Yep. Just using it for some saturation, and this shaping tool here is really nice. You can pull some of the high end out of the transients if you pull this up a bit. That's what it sounds like to me, at least. I'm not sure if that's what's actually going on, but and then looks like I'm folding the mono up a bit for just trying to tighten up the low end a bit, get rid of the stereo information. And finally, Ozone 11 to quickly master it and bring it up to shape, kind of get it to the right levels match-wise overall. A lot of times once I apply this stuff, I'll hear it has a great effect on certain elements of the mix, but one thing will kind of change too much. But if I like overall what it does, I'll go back into the mix and adjust that one thing where it changed it in a way that I didn't like. But as long as it affects most of the elements in a positive way, then I'll probably keep it. Equalizer, impact settings, just letting the punch through and then compressing. Imager. Clarity. That's only 2 dB. Stabilizer, same, not doing much. Bit of mid-range control here. You know what? I should bring in the rest of this stuff. Okay, it's working a bit harder there. Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Finding a few resonant peaks to tame them a bit. And the maximizer at the end, just to kind of get it up to a decent volume level, but it's not working too hard. All right, that's it. That was the longest one, I think. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.